Hello everyone, this is Helios Raven. I tell you how you do it, even if you don't care. And we're about coming to a conclusion on our in-depth look at the forces of Tau in the Battlefleet Gothic universe. We just talked about the special rules for the Demurg, which is an ally of the Tau, and we're looking at the Stronghold Commerce Vessel. This is the Demurg battleship. It has a strength, hit points 10, speed 15 centimeters, turns 45 degrees, shields 4, armament 5, front armor 6, 4 turrets. Really good stats for a battleship, I must say. It is on a little bit weak on the hit point side, but still, it does make it up with its armaments, which are ridiculous. It's got a port and starboard weapon batteries, each range 30 centimeters, each strength firepower 12. One fires on its left, one fires on its right, which is really, really nice. It's also got a starboard and port lance, each range 60 centimeters, strength 3, one fires in the left arc, one fires in the right arc. That's, again, really, really nice. It also has a POW weapon battery with a range 45 centimeters, strength 14, front arc. Again, that is really phenomenal. This thing is really heavy on the broadsiding on any direction it goes on. It also has the POW cutter beam, which is 15 centimeter range, front arc, and that's what uses the blast templates to generate lance shots to a max of 8. It's also got dorsal torpedo servos, range 30 centimeters, firepower 6, all around its firing arc. And it has launch bays. It can fire fighters, bombers, or assault boats. The fighters and assault boats have a range 30 centimeters, the bombers have 20, with 3 squadrons, and can fire those all around as well. So armament-wise, it's pretty beefed up there. That's actually fairly nice. It's actually really, really good in that term. Its special rules do kind of hinder it a little bit. Because it's mostly self-automated, the battleship's leadership is dictated by its hit points. So it starts at 10, and it loses a hit point. Each time it loses a hit point, it loses a leadership to a minimum of 5. It will not drop any further than 5. Bridge smashed critical hits will not inflict additional leadership loss on a Demurg ship, but instead cause an extra point of damage and possible attended leadership loss on the vessel. I guess that means if the thing still has a higher than 5 leadership, it also takes the leadership point of damage, which is not really good. And it has a points vessel worth of 350 victory points in normal scenarios, but in pure Demurg fleet or one fighting against orcs, it is worth 400 victory points instead to reflect its extra determination. And it may not use the come to a new heading special rule. So, armament-wise, this thing's a beast. It's probably the most powerful ship in the Tau fleet that the Tau have choice of in their forces. So it's actually really nice. Its leadership its leadership rules kind of hinder it a little bit, but not to the point where I wouldn't take this ship. I would still consider this vessel in a non-pure Tau expandatory fleet, because it is really, really nice. And the other vessel it has is the Bastion Commerce Vessel. This is a cruiser with 8 hit points, speed 20 centimeters, 45 degree turns, 2 shields, side rear armor 5, front armor 6, turrets 2. It's got a port and starboard weapon battery, each range 30 centimeters, firepower 6. One fires in its left, one fires in its right arc. It's got a port and starboard lance, range 60 centimeters, firepower 2. One fires in its right arc, one fires in its left arc. A POW weapon battery, 45 centimeter range, firepower 8 in the front arc. It's got the cutter beam with 15 centimeter range, one land shot, max of 8 on blast markers, and fire arc front. And it's got a dorsal launch bay, can either fire 2 squadrons of fighters, bombers, or assault boats, or fire a strength 4 servo of torpedoes all around. So it's basically the stronghold with reduced weapon power. So if you kind of point too point heavy and you want to try to reduce your point costs, you'd want then the Bastion's not a bad ship in terms of that. And it's pretty decent in terms of armament, and it does have special rules where this class is heavily automated and counts their leadership value as 9 at the start of the battlefield. And its leadership will drop by 1 for each point of damage the Bastion suffers. Once the Bastion is crippled by suffering 4 hits, its leadership value will not drop any further than 5. The Bridge Smash critical rule functions basically the same way as the Stronghold, where it will not take a leadership deduction, it will take an extra point of damage, or on a leadership deduction on top of it, if I interpret these rules correctly, when suffering this type of hit. And it has its normal value is 255 victory points normally, but in a pure Demurg fleet or one fighting against orcs, its worth is 300 points. It cannot employ the Come to New Heading special rule, and its launch bays may either launch attack crafts or torpedoes if reloaded, but may not launch both attack craft and torpedoes in the same turn. So all in all, the Demurg ships are pretty decent. I mean, they're very firepower heavy and are really great complementaries to the Tau vessels. So would I take them? I'm not really sure. I'm pretty much on the fence about them. I think that I'd probably be better off with some of the other Tau ships over them. I would really only get them if you really just want some real huge powerhouses with massive weapon batteries to just hold on its own if you feel like you're going to get eliminated fairly easy, if your ships aren't going to be able to handle a lot, then you'd bring these guys in to deal out a mass amount of punishment while drawing a lot of fire away from the other vessels, is what I'd consider these guys for. Especially since you can only get these models off of Forge World. It kind of makes me not want to pick them up that much, because I don't think they're great and all, but just for me, I think that just because of their point costs and everything, just taking a bunch more, I would just rather take some more escorts and one or two of the cruisers for the regular Tau vessels, just because of their point value. The leadership rule I'm not a big fan of at all either. And that was it for the Tau vehicles. Then we have the Tau fleet list. They can have up to 1 commander. If your fleet must include a commander if it's greater than 250 points, and you, depending on which commander you get, you kind of have Corel or Koro. Corel has a leadership of 8, and Koro has a leadership of 9, and that has 1 reroll included in their point cost. And if you wish, you can purchase extra rerolls. You can have either 1 reroll for 25 points or 2 rerolls for 75 points. In terms of capital ships, you may include any number of battleships. If your fleet is worth more than 750 points, you must include at least 1 explorer. And let's see, cruisers, you may include any number of merchant-class starships. It may also include up to 1 hero-class starship for every merchant or explorer in the fleet. You may include up to 1 messenger-class starship per 500 points. Okay, so that kind of mimics down, like, say, I still want to get at least 1 messenger in your fleet. Your fleet may include up to any number of defender-class starships, and you may not have any more orcas than gravity hooks capacity of the fleet. And in terms of ordnance, the ships with ordnance bay may launch any mix of barracudas or mantas. Ships with gravity launchers are armed with Tau torpedoes. In terms of allies and subjects, the Tau fleet fleet can include up to 1 Kroot war sphere if the fleet is worth 1,500 points, or up to 2 war spheres if the game's larger than that. In terms of Demurg vessels, a Tau can include up to 1 Demurg vessel for every 3 Tau capital ships in the fleet. In terms of Neskar vessels, again, if you decide to add the Neskar vessels in, they replace all of the Orca gravity hooks with Dohao gravity hooks. You can't do a mixture of them within your fleet. And with Orca class vessels and Dohao, they can be squadroned independently. They can also be squadroned with other escorts from parent vessels that are squadroned with their own parent vessel, but the maximum of 6 is still applied to them. And that is basically all I can talk about in terms of the fleet listing of the Tau, and we'll continue on with my next video with the Forge World models. So, until next time, this is Helios Raven, signing off.